Well, I'm delighted to, as you can see, the mysterious mist is growing behind me because we have a fantastic author who kind of specializes in such psychological horror and strange books. We have Vicky Hancox, not Vic, well, it is Victoria, her posh pen name, but Vicky Hancox to all her friends, and you are, of course, all her friends now. Hello, Vicky. How are you today?
I am, well, it's Friday, so of course I'm very well, thank you.
Fantastic. And I take
hmm
it you're at home, or is this a writing
Yes,
area as well?
today actually it was the first time since March 2020 I actually had to go into the office, so that was a bit of a shock.
Oh.
So yeah, now I'm back home recovering.
I'm just looking behind you there. You've got candles lit next to a skeleton.
Yeah.
And some very interesting. I can't really work out what I think it's got a recline. Is it a dead body behind you there?
A dead body. What is that? You've got a Smiths album cover, so you've got The Queen is Dead,
Ah, well,
and
yeah.
then I've got the original cover of Night Shift.
Ah, okay. So,
Ah,
yeah, dead and yes, night. I can't see the night shift one. Is that on the?
that's
That,
above the candle.
ah, right. Oh, I can't see that one.
Yeah, the light's not.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, so Vicky, you've been sort of obviously into game books. When was the first one you picked up? Can you remember how old you were and what it was? And
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm going to have to go early teens with that. It's that kind of, I think everyone's around that age, aren't they? And I can't even remember which was the first one, but the ones that stand out from there would be Citadel of Chaos and Death Trap Dungeon. So those were my two favorites around that time. And then I think, like most people, got sort of, middle-aged and wanted to start to go back to their youth, and so had a look at them again, and so yeah, started getting them, those early books again, and so
yeah.
getting into game books that way.
Did you do any sort of role playing, or were you kind of an avid sort of fantasy reader, or what did you do in the meantime? What kind of world were you in as a teenager?
So avid book reader, and mainly I'd say horror. So if I say things like James Herbert and Graham Masterton, Stephen King, so yeah, that was my sort of thing growing up in between.
So how did you take that into writing a game book? How did you take that leap?
Well, I mean, I was the weird kid that used to sort of be by themselves in a daydream all day, and then grew into a weird adult that did very much the same thing. And so I was always writing stories, but they just weren't very good. And I'd had Night Shift. Night Shift is 20 years old. So this is back when I was a nurse, a Manchester infirmary, working in theatres on the night shift.
Yeah.
And so this story was already written. It just wasn't very good. And so when I started reading these again, it was all thanks to my husband, who said, "Why don't you try rewriting Night Shift as that?" And it's like, okay, let's give that a whirl. And it was just like something clicked, and that was my voice. And it was easy. It's strange to say, but yeah, it was just easy. And I think easy as well because it was all in my head in the hospital. I could picture myself down these corridors and going here and going there. So it was really easy to write that way. And
They
so
do
yeah,
say,
that was nice. 20 years in the making.
wow. So when did it start becoming the shape of the game book to actually publish and get it out to people?
I think it took about, I think fairly quickly, about say 6 to 9 months to really turn it around.
Hmm.
And so yeah, I had loads and loads of, I sort of, this is like how I work with big sort of art pieces of paper. So I had loads of this all plotted, and the floor plans and all the rest of it. And it'd be tweaked and tweaked, and then you'd look again and tweak it a bit more. And so yeah, I think over about 6 to 9 months, it was then boom, ready to go.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
And did self-publish it, or do you find a publisher, or do a
Had to
Kickstarter?
self-publish.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I think I'd been through quite a few rejections anyway, over the last sort of couple of decades, to think, yeah, this will never happen anyway, so what's the point? I'll just put it out there, thinking really that only my mum would buy it. And yeah, it's been a really, really pleasant surprise. Really, really nice.
Was that your first one? Have you got a few now, haven't you? So when did
Yeah,
you come
I've just not stopped. It was just like open the floodgates and here it all is. Yeah, once I started, that was it. And it's a really nice place to be. So at the moment, I'm at the end of book 4. And so this is all the editing and the proofreading and all of this kind of boring stuff. And so already my head's in book 5 and like getting excited to get into that.
That's brilliant. And what is the world? How would you describe it, someone new to the series?
Oh, that is a good question. So I've called it horror, so it's a horror game book. Although, as you described, perhaps more sort of psychological, thriller sorts of things. But I wanted to go for horror because there are some unpleasant things in there. And so I don't want people to perhaps give it to their children thinking, oh, yeah, I remember fighting fantasy as a kid, and give them that when there are some unpleasant things in there. I mean, Night Shift is more sort of, I don't know, kind of like traditional horror, so it's witches and demons.
Yeah.
But then since then, I'm going more to where I seem drawn to, which is as people being quite unpleasant. And, not necessarily coming out of, my imagination. These are real things that happen. So, that's why I think at least calling them horror will maybe stop children reading them.
Yeah. Well,
Sort of
I've
not
got
getting
House of
into
Hell
horror.
down here, so yeah, you never know.
True, yeah.
It might, but no. I look at the covers here, and they're beautiful. I'm looking at the Phantom Self cover,
Mm.
which is really quite freaky, if I say that. It's a mirror, someone looking to mirror, and their reflection is. Are they sticking their fingers in their mouth? Yeah, it's very
It's more of
strange.
a gasp, yeah. It's me. It's me at the mirror. And so it's a gasp of horror at what's being seen.
Is that your second one, or
This is the third. Phantom is the third. The
what's
second
that
was
one
The
about?
Alchemist's Folly.
And can you describe those books and tell us a little bit about
Yeah.
those?
So what we've got is a hexalogy. So there are going to be 6 books in all, and this is the Cluster Echo series. And this stems from, and I hope I quote this properly from War of the Worlds, who would have dreamed that we were being scrutinized as someone with a microscope studies creatures that multiply and swarm in a drop of water? So that's something that I've always been kind of intrigued with, because I find humans as a species to be quite full of themselves and quite arrogant as being this sort of, prime species. And we do lots of horrible things to other creatures, other humans, lots of damage to the environment. But we do it with this sort of, we are very superior. And so the idea that there is something else, even more superior, intelligent, and more powerful, that is studying us in the same way. So this is, in a nutshell, this is what the cluster is. And this is, so I won't go into sort of what they are or what it is, but it's all about them basically studying us and experimenting on us with the idea of how can we control us. So just as we perhaps try to domesticate animals, it's this sort of relationship between the cluster and us. So it's all about control. And so in Night Shift, it was about how fear can control us. So, we see this in our day-to-day life as well. The Alchemist's Folly was all about science and how science can be used to perhaps manipulate people's behavior and so on. Phantom Self was about more the self-control, and how the fear of losing like the sense of yourself and this sort of grasp on reality, how that can be something that you can manipulate people with. The 4th book that's being released in, well, I think I'm looking at sort of Halloween, so in a month or so. This is about love and how the promise of love can control people. And book 5, that's that. I won't go into book 5. Yeah. And book 6 is something that I'm really quite interested. I'm really quite excited about coming forward to, because this is going to be all 5 protagonists, so books 1 to 5, coming together to face the cluster. Wow. So I've got actually no idea what's going to happen there, but I'm going to trust that it will come to me.
Wow.
That's the whole 6.
So obviously that's amazing. You've already got this idea for the whole thing coming together. So does each book, when you wrote the first one, did you have all 6 in mind at the
No.
very beginning?
I wish I could say, oh yeah, I planned all of this, but no. It only started to occur to me with Alchemist, and so I've just re-released Night Shift with a new cover, and so that had an extra section in to sort of bring it in with the hexalogy.
Yeah, and where are they set? Are they set in present day, or are they timely pieces?
All present day, and I like it to be. I mean, what I usually use in the introduction is that you're just an ordinary person and doing an ordinary job, and then you find yourself in this weird situation. So yeah, it's all modern day, modern settings, except for when it then becomes a bit strange.
Yeah. Oh, awesome! That's amazing. Now, if you had a infinite budget and someone said, okay, you can turn it into a film, a TV series, or a game.
Oh,
Either role-playing game or computer game, which one would you kind of like to see it go? If you
but I'd have experts to do it, because I wouldn't have a clue.
Yeah.
I think I'd go for computer game. Yeah, I think I'd go for that. I'm a really, really big fan of Dead Space 2. So the idea of it being something like that would be good.
And of course, that keeps some of the choose your own element there as well, doesn't it? With computer.
Yeah, games. But now you've said film, I'm thinking, yeah, who could be cast in that?
You never know, And I spoke to someone the other day who was talking about interactive film, as we've seen with Bandersnatch and things. This might be something which is going to be happening in the future. So
yeah. That'd be nice. I was surprised really that nothing took off after Bandersnatch. I was keeping my fingers crossed that things would go with that, but it's all gone a bit quiet since then.
I think there's a very big lawsuit straight after that.
That's true.
It might have slowed things down slightly, but
that's a bit of a hiccup.
Something, yeah. There's a choose your own Kimmy Schmidt. I think there's a few of them, but there's not many. Not many. Maybe it's a genre which will enter in the next 40 years. So you've obviously got these 6 planned at the moment, and if you're almost there, and you also write novels as well, is that right? And the glitching and the
I try with that. Glitching was something that me and my husband did together, so that was a really nice experiment. And the Misanthrope is a novella. I kind of hesitate with that. It felt more like it was a journal. It was more cathartic therapy. It's a teacher, so this is what I used to do, and it's not the favorite job I've ever done. And so this was kind of a cathartic way of dealing with it. And if you read it, then obviously it's not based on real life. I didn't murder anybody, promise. But I find them not so easy. It's the writing in the second person feels very natural for me. And so otherwise I like to try other things, but yeah, it's not my comfort zone.
And the characters in the choose your own adventures. So what do you call them? Do you call choose your path, or just so people know what they are.
The
protagonists in those, where are they drawn from? And you said there's going to be 5 of them all together in the end.
Yeah. I suppose they are kind of aspects of me. When I think about it, I mean, they've certainly got their own distinct characters, and that'll be seen in book 6, where actually in book 4 you meet the character from Night Shift. So they do have, their gender, their age, their name. That is always said. But I suppose, it's like when I'm writing, it is a kind of aspect of me. So it was obvious, wasn't it, in Night Shift, that this is a nurse, and that was plainly me. Alchemist Folly, that's actually a male scientist. So that was me putting a kind of male head on. Phantom Self is an older male. But it feels when I'm writing, that sounds odd, doesn't it, when I say, but it feels when I'm writing it that it is a part of me. I am getting into that character.
Yeah. Does your husband get sort of any of his characteristics put in there that you?
No, no. There are things that I then read back, and it occurs to me that I have had a female sentiment. So in Phantom Self, you go to the toilet, and it was only after I'd written it that it was like, no, 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 men don't sit down usually. So you need to rewrite that. But when my mum read Alchemist's Folly, she said, "Oh yeah, yeah, because it's a woman, isn't it?" And I was like, "Oh, why do you say that?" And it was some sort of mannerisms that you've done or a reaction. And she was like, "No, no, that only a woman would do that, not a man." So it's interesting to see other people's opinions on what the character's like.
Fantastic. So, other sort of game, but do you read other game books, or would you for pleasure, or do you
For
try and?
pleasure and to steal ideas, to be honest. No, no, I shouldn't say steal, should I? I should say to get inspiration.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like reading other people's games book, and yeah, it is sort of, that's a nice way of doing it.
Yeah. I think that the
I'll
interesting thing that I found over the last few years is that everyone's really kind of made their own series their own. They're all very different. They've got their own characteristics and their own styles, and some are chapter based, some are open worlds, some are just for adults. So, it is amazing how many different ways you can push the choose your own aspect.
mm.
Is there anything you'd like to kind of play around with, something you haven't done yet, something to kind of push it a little bit, sort of in a different direction for yourself? Or
Yeah, I mean, there is the not a worry so much, but at the back of your head, you're thinking, well, if this is a series and therefore a brand, should you be a bit more consistent? But I also want to explore things and try and push the craft. And book 5, so this is going way into the future, isn't it? It's kind of got some inspiration with Kit Williams's Masquerade. And so I've also just been reading Paulson's Peak, which has a lot more to do with pictures being a more central part of it. So I would like to try and incorporate the images instead of it just being an illustration,
yeah,
for it to be part of the puzzle itself as well, and to start bringing that in. I'm working with a really great illustrator for Behind the Weeping Walls, which is book 4, and so it's like, okay, let's see where this relationship can go, and
yeah.
what ideas I've got for book 5 to bring images more into the puzzling aspect and to use them more in that way.
So, what are the game mechanics of your books? How are they?
It's, well, I mean, obviously no dice. I'm a definite no dice person.
Yeah,
And I mean, I like the books to be a story, but also a kind of a whodunit, a puzzle, a what's going on, a finding it out. And so mechanics, I've used riddles and sort of code words, puzzles to get you to different sections, hidden passages, that sort of thing. But it also does have to be really integrated into the story. So it's got to make sense within the story. And for example, Phantom Self didn't have that many just because I couldn't, if it would feel like I'm shoehorning it into a puzzle into it and it doesn't make sense.
yeah.
So yeah, it's like there's no sort of set standard mechanics. It's what works with the story and what makes sense with the story. But yeah, it's I've used a lot more code words in Behind the Weeping Walls because I've gone for more of it's a much more open play. So for people to have this, their unique pathway, I've had to use a lot more code words so they can track their own progress through it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it. Again, this is still nothing that's set in stone,
Yeah.
and I'm exploring with and finding what works with any particular story.
I've just suddenly thought, have you ever done an escape room, or would this work really well as an escape room if you had like a host, part of a hospital to change into puzzles and lock doors and creatures
I
wander
did
around?
try actually an escape room at the start of The Alchemist's Folly, and in the end scrapped it because it felt like it was bogging things things down, and I was worried that people would want to get into the story a bit faster.
Yeah.
So, but I do like escape rooms, and yeah, it's something that I kind of need to think a bit more about, and yeah, explore that a bit better than I did last time.
That's fantastic. It sounds amazing. So, if people want to get hold of your book, what is the best way for them to? Around the, obviously this is global. So, in the UK or America, how can they grab them?
It's Amazon. So that's self-published with KDP. So yeah, Amazon, and it's on all the main marketplaces.
Okay.
So whichever is closest.
Are they all softback? Have you got any hardback editions coming up?
There is a special edition hardback of Night Shift that's got the extra. It's got the extra section in it. It's also got the map, so all the floor plans if people get lost in the hospitals. And I've even put in where the hidden passages are and puzzle solutions. But obviously that's tucked at the back.
That's good. Where can they get that one?
That's on Amazon. Fantastic. So yeah, paperback, ebooks, and Night Shift has got hardback special edition. That's
amazing. Now, if someone wants to get hold of you or follow you and follow your projects, have you got a mailing list, or is it best to sort of follow you on?
I've got my website, which is victoriahancox.com, and then you can subscribe to my mailing list that way.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for coming. When this goes out, I think Ken has already done a playthrough, or at least the first part. So I hope you've all survived. If you're watching this,
do hope so.
And if not,
I just hope he got past section 1.
I can't wait. We'll find out. What do you think? Do you think they will?
There's a lot of people actually that hasn't, and but it's easy enough to cheat and just go, oh, I'll just pick the other option then. Okay. It's a maths question on the first one, so.
Oh, I'd be doomed then. But but we'll see. I'm sure.
To be honest, so would I. If I didn't have a maths teacher for a husband, I would.
That's great. Okay, well, thank you again so much, and hopefully we'll see you at Fighting Fantasy 4, whenever that will be.
Well, I'm in Germany, so I'm not sure about getting over there for that. But
okay,
I'll be there in spirit.
Are you going to any Spiegel or any other sort of book conventions or gaming conventions?
Not that I've heard of over here. Maybe that's passed me by.
Maybe you'll be invited after this, so we'll
that'd be nice.
Fantastic. Again, thank you again so much.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Take care.